Hi, Tara.
Hi, Sid. It's good to see
Good
you.
to see you too. So, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to run for office in Sandy Springs.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been doing mental health advocacy work for years, and then the last couple of years, environmental advocacy work as well. And some people must have noticed because they asked if I would consider running for office. So earlier this year, I sat down and thought about it and thought, might as well go for it and see how we can help Sandy Springs.
So, tell me a little bit about what Sandy Springs means to you.
Yes. For me, Sandy Springs is a wonderful place to live, work, and play. My husband Sean and I moved here in 2019, and we've enjoyed getting to know our neighbors and dining in the local restaurants and enjoying our local parks as well.
Can you share a memory or moment in your life that shaped your values today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wonderful question. I would say possibly the decision to become a therapist. In my late 20s, I was trying to look for what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I was speaking to a counselor who said, you could do this. You could do therapy if you wanted to. And so I started studying that, and working with people over the last almost 15 years has been amazing. When people trust you with their stories and you get to know them on that deeper level, it's taught me so much about how to relate to folks from all walks of life and the fact that we all just want to live healthier, better lives.
As you mentioned, you're running for city council, which doesn't have a lot of power compared to US Congress. But the city councils can help shape local responses to whatever Congress decides on. So, what ideas or tools are you thinking of using to help Sandy Springs afford housing or sustainability or healthcare?
I think there's a lot that the community itself can do in terms of making sure there's housing options for older individuals who want to downsize and stay in place in Sandy Springs, in places that they've lived for 30, 40, 50 years. We need to have available options for them. For young families moving to Sandy Springs, they deserve a chance to get a foothold in the city and to live, work, and play right here in Sandy Springs. So I think there's a lot we can do to make sure that that balance is here. In terms of sustainability, I'd love to see a continuation of the walkability of Sandy Springs. That's one of the things I love about the neighborhood that we're in. So better sidewalks, making sure the Springway Trail Connector continues and that we do connect our trails to Path 400 as well. I know that these are in the works, but I want to make sure that they get done in a timely manner as well. In terms of healthcare, 40% of our available beds in Metro Atlanta are in Sandy Springs, just up the road from here. And so I want to make sure we have strong relationships with Northside Hospital, with Emory St. Joseph Hospital, with CHOA as well, to be sure that people have access to the care that they need.
So, Sandy Springs is one of the wealthiest cities in Georgia, and the yearly income for our average family is about $110,000. Despite this, we have a 7% poverty line, and our Gini coefficient is 0.528, which is one of the highest in Metro Atlanta. My question to you is what would you do for renters, immigrants, hourly workers, and people who don't have house with yard signs?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. When my grandparents came from Puerto Rico to the mainland to New York City many decades ago, I don't think they could have ever imagined that their granddaughter would be running for office. So I do know the American dream can still happen, and it can happen here in Sandy Springs. So I grew up on the lower income side, rental apartments all my childhood, and then later, just in the last few years, became a homeowner myself. I think there is room in Sandy Springs for people with all income levels, and we also have to make sure our employees can live in Sandy Springs if they choose to. Our nurses, our firefighters, our teachers deserve to live here and to have their families be a part of the community also. In terms of that income inequality, I'd like to see us continue our economic development of Sandy Springs. So there are job opportunities for everyone who is living here. That would help people with building on their dreams too.
Your campaign touches on mental health, and you yourself are an established therapist. In 2021, nearly 44% of Georgia residents were facing anxiety or depression, but only 29% of them were able to access care. This includes many residents of Sandy Springs as well. So my question to you is, what city level efforts would you sponsor to expand on mental health care access in Sandy Springs?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another great question. I believe we have enough therapists in and around Sandy Springs that we could get together and make sure we're doing community events to help educate people on mental health and on the things they can be doing on their own also to improve their mental health on a daily basis. In terms of actually having the services available, I know there's been recent cuts, for instance, or coming down the pike for Medicaid and Medicare, but I believe that Sandy Springs can help fill in those gaps. whether that's partnering with nonprofit organizations, making sure we get therapists together to offer discounted or pro bono services as needed. I think there's a lot of solutions we can find if we just work with the therapist community.
So full-time female workers in Sandy Springs earns about $73,000 a year, and about the male workers they earn about $93,000 a year, which is about like a 24% pay gap. So would you support a city-led measure for pay transparency and equity audits?
So the governmental salaries are already public record. In terms of the gender pay gap, I think we need to make sure we are helping with education and opportunities for women in Sandy Springs so that they can pursue those jobs that do have the higher salaries. I think a lot of this also starts in our schools, making sure that everyone has access to great literacy skills, great math skills, supporting our teachers in those endeavors sets those students up for a lifetime of learning and also being successful in their professions.
So Sandy Springs currently lack a citywide recycling services, and we do not have a very centralized EV infrastructure, and we also don't have any sidewalks which can make neighborhoods feel unsafe to walk on. So our question to you is, what would you do in city council about these issues?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right that we don't have citywide recycling. Keep Northfield and Beautiful Recycling Center has helped a lot in filling in some of that gap by having a center that's open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. most days of the week over at Morgan Falls. However, that requires citizens to have to load up their recycling and drive it up to the center and make sure they're driving up during those business hours. Some neighborhoods have some recycling services they've privately contracted, but I think we can do better. By having citywide recycling, we can make sure that more homes have access to recycling and that they have more recycling options. Some of the private companies don't take all forms of plastic, or they take plastic but not glass. And our citizens deserve the chance to make sure they recycle as many things as they can or wish to. In terms of the EV charging, the city has done a great job with the policy. Level 2 charging is, permitted throughout the city. We could do some improvement with the level 3 charging as well to make sure that cars are charged even more quickly. In addition, working with businesses to make sure that there are more options for EV charging at their storefronts would help a lot of people. I hear from residents, I either work in Sandy Springs, I live in Sandy Springs, and I can't find a charger when I'm out. I've got to make sure I'm charging at home or else I can't find a charger during the day. In addition, for those living in apartments or in townhomes, sometimes there's not a lot of charging options. I think we could work with them as well to make sure we have more spaces with chargers for their residents too. In regard to walkability, sidewalks are huge. I'm so glad to see that the city has already put into place plans to put in more sidewalks, and we're seeing them come up in different neighborhoods. District 3 especially has an issue with not having enough sidewalks and people wanting that walkability, to walk to the store, to walk to see their neighbors, just take a stroll with their family or their pets. So I'd like to see those initiatives be better funded and to continue, and also to complete those sidewalks in a timely fashion so people can enjoy them sooner.
So your campaign emphasizes citywide partnership for hospitals, schools, youth programs are very important. How would you, as city council leader, approach these organizations and so that make sure that younger generation and older generation thrive alike in Sandy Springs?
Yes, that's a great question. So I think we need to do more work in making sure we're having everyone come to the table. So having these sort of meetings that are open to the public as well, to make sure the different nonprofit representatives can come to us and express their concerns and their needs for different programs. Sandy Springs does a great job already with making sure that there's grants to different organizations. I want to make sure that we expand that, especially in light of possible national budget cuts, to be sure that our groups like Los Niños Primero and Sandy Springs Youth Sports and so many more get the resources they need so that our children can still have great education and great access to recreation.
What role do you think young people and first-time voters play in this election for Sandy Springs?
Oh my goodness. I would love to see us get out the vote in a big way this year. Georgia is one of the states that has elections every year, but unfortunately, most people only come up for, say, the presidential election, and then they're not even always aware that we have mayoral, that we have city council elections, and so many more. For first-time voters, I think it's a great opportunity to have a say in your local community. Sandy Springs also does not do at-large seats. So the people of District 3 elect who represents them in District 3. And so for anyone in District 3 who's listening, I would say to them that this is a great year to vote if you've not voted before. And if you have only voted in the larger elections, vote local. See if you can make a difference on a local scale as well.
So you have never held a public office before. So why should voters trust you with being their leader in city council?
Great question. I am an outsider to politics. I'm a therapist, an educator, and a small business owner, and I bring that perspective to city council. I want to make sure I'm standing up for the voices of our constituents. As a therapist, I very much know how to listen. And so I can promise that to the constituency, if you reach out to me for a problem, I will get back to you in a timely fashion, and we will work together to solve your problem in the best way possible. Just like I've been helping people to discover themselves and solve problems as a therapist and as an educator already. As a small business owner, I understand how important it is to have government that is not only transparent, but also rules and regulations that make sense for your business. And I want to represent your interests as well.
In America, city council elections are often overlooked. Why should Sandy Spring residents care about this election, and why would she be different than other people on the ballot?
Wow, wonderful question. And you're right, the turnout for local elections typically is much lower than presidential elections, for instance. But I hope that people show up because I bring a fresh perspective on the issues. As a therapist, as an educator, as a small business owner, I'm coming in really listening to the citizens and wanting to make sure we do things as a city council that directly impact Sandy Springs in a wonderful way. I'm here to represent our citizens of all ages, our working families, our older adults, everyone in between. I'm here to also represent folks from different walks of life with different experiences like myself. I only moved to Georgia in 2007 and Sandy Springs in 2019. We know that this is a growing area, and I want to make sure that everyone feels included.
With this election, you're asking for public's trust. How would you, as a city council leader, handle hard decisions that you have to make?
Difficult decisions come across city council all the time, and my leadership style focuses on communication as well as finding common ground. So I would work with my colleagues to see where we could meet in the middle on these different issues and make sure we're communicating with the constituents and see what that common ground is. We can't make everyone happy all of the time, but what can we do to move together as a community in a direction that makes sense for Sandy Springs?
If you win this election, how do you plan to gain the trust of the voters who didn't vote for you?
I'm here to represent all of District 3, no matter how they voted. So I'll make sure to institute times when the constituents can reach me directly. Not only will I be available via email and text message, but also have these coffee with council member Tara chats and make sure that they are heard no matter which way we see issues. I believe that everyone having their voice be heard is a step toward making the changes that are needed in District 3 and beyond.
In the event you were to lose this election, how do you plan to stay involved in Sandy Springs politics, and what's the scenario like if that happens?
Absolutely. So one of the great things about running these last few months has been all the wonderful people I've met along the way. And so the different organizations that I know do terrific work here in Sandy Springs, such as Solidarity Sandy Springs or the Sandy Springs Society, I hope to continue working with them after this election is over, no matter the outcome, to make sure that we continue to build a more productive, happy place to live, work, and play for all members of Sandy Springs.
Anything else you'd like for your voters to know about you for this election?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be running. I'm thrilled to be getting to know so many people in our district and beyond, and that I am a therapist, an educator, a small business owner who's looking to make a difference right here at home with us. I'm looking to listen to our constituents and make sure that we develop programs and initiatives that improve life for everybody who's here.
So to finish out the interview, I would like to ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So What's your favorite local spot in Sandy Springs?
Ah, that's an easy one. So we love the walkability of our neighborhood. We walk down to the El Azteca just a few blocks from here, probably about once a week. Delicious chimichangas, great staff, always an awesome night out.
What's one thing that people might be surprised to learn about you?
I think one thing people would be surprised to learn about me is how much I love independent art. I love going to the theater, and I'm really looking forward to our upcoming season at the Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center at the Byers Theater. I also love supporting local artists. I would want to see more art markets down at the City Green outside of City Hall to make sure that our local artists get exposure as well as much needed support from people who want to buy their wares.
When you're not campaigning, what's your favorite way to unwind?
But campaigning is so relaxing. Um, my favorite way to unwind, aside from travel, is to hang out with my two cats, Moxie and Midnight Overcat, and we snuggle on the couch and watch reality TV.
When is the election for Sandy Springs City Council and how can people learn more about it?
So early voting starts October 14th and goes all the way through October 31st. Election day itself is Tuesday, November 4th. To learn more about our campaign and what I stand for, you can visit overzatforsandysprings.com.